good morning. My name is Dean Ward, and I serve as the lead pastor of the River Church. And I am so grateful that you have chosen to join in with us here for our online worship service. I received a text message from a friend this week, Amy McKnight. She sent me an image, and she knows that we film on Thursday evenings usually. And she sent me this image and said, "Hey, Dean, I just want to let you know, I hope that you film and get done filming Thursday before the Thursday night high that's predicted kicks in." And then I looked at this image, and I don't know if you can see it or not. Jeff Verzella is predicting that the Thursday night high will not be 64 degrees, but 604 degrees. An extra zero in there makes quite a difference. So I wore my shorts just in case it got really, really hot, but it actually has been one of the most pleasant days of the summer so far. So I think we're good. Thank you for the warning, Amy. We are filming again today at the AK Valley Park here right off of Edgewood Road, at the corner of Edgewood Road and Freeport Road in New Kensington. And I have just been noticing all summer long so far these beautiful hydrangeas. Now, blue is my favorite color, and I have never seen them quite this vivid, quite this blue, quite this impressive, and wanted to film in front of them again. Every time we film here, I just catch another place that I'm like, oh, that would be a great place to film in front of as well. So I hope that you get to enjoy some of the beauty of our community, some of the beauty in New Kensington. Today, we are in part 5 of our series of messages, just simply called GoRiverChurch.com. And we are doing our best to get ready for our move 2.5 miles up the road to 273 Chester Drive. Our grand opening is September 15th. Our last service in our current location, where we've been for almost 18 years, is Sunday, August 11th, and then Sunday, August 18th, we're heading out to our new location for kind of a soft opening with our people to get acclimated to the space, to get used to doing ministry and having our services, making sure the sound and video and kids ministry and volunteers and everything goes well. And it's our hope that by September 15th, when we open up the river 15068 to the community, that we will be ready to go. So this series has been helpful. And today, I want to begin by taking you back to the mid-'70s when I was just an elementary school boy. My mother used to love to host, just having people in her house, making dinners. And when we knew as kids it was going to be a big night, when she asked us to shred the Velveeta cheese. And you're like, how in the world can you shred Velveeta cheese? And what in the world would you ever want to shred Velveeta cheese for? Well, that meant that my mother was making her famous pear salad. And you're like, what kind of a pear salad uses Velveeta cheese? Well, here's how it would be made. She would take a head of iceberg lettuce, take a full leaf of it, and put it on a small plate. And then, no expense spared, she would buy cans of half-sliced peaches. And canned peaches, she would take a canned peach that was sliced in half, and she would turn it and set it on top of the green leaf iceberg lettuce. And then the kicker, she would take a tablespoon dollop of Miracle Whip. No, not mayonnaise, but Miracle Whip. And then she would sprinkle it with Velveeta shredded cheese. Now, my sister says that if it was really important company, she might put a cherry on top of it. I don't remember the cherry, but it was something as a kid I grew up having from time to time in our house, and I loved it. Now you may be thinking about that and like, I'm not so sure I would love it. Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. Well, I want to begin with this, and today's sermon is just simply called Bring Your Pear Salad. Okay, there you go. I want to begin with a story that is very familiar to us, but I want to look at it from just a little slightly different perspective. It's from John chapter 6, verses 5 through 13, when Jesus feeds 5,000 people, 5,000 men, and then women and children as well. So let's jump right into the story. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus took the loaves, he gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. Now, I want to invite you to imagine the boy in this story. He hears that Jesus is coming to town, and he wants to go on an adventure that day and hear Jesus teach and hopefully have an opportunity to see or even meet him. And his mother does the proper thing, sends him off with a proper lunch. She said, "Hey, you're going to be gone all day. McDonald's prices have skyrocketed. We're a little short on cash, and so I'm not going to send you with any cash for that fast food garbage. I'm going to make you some barley loaves and send you with some fishes." I imagine they were probably larger than sardines, but sardines is what kind of comes to mind when I think of 2 small fishes. And so she sends him off, and he's in the crowd. And then all of a sudden, this adult comes to him and says, "Hey, kid, give me your lunch." Just imagine how unsettling it would be. I don't know exactly how Philip commandeered it wasn't Philip, it was Andrew. I don't know exactly how Andrew commandeered the boy and his lunch, but he brought the boy to Jesus with his 5 loaves and 2 fish and says, "Hey, this is all we were able to find." And I just imagine that the kid's like, "You want my loaves? You want my fish? Wait. You want my mom's crusty loaves? You want my mom's, like, what we eat at our dinner table every night? You want my mom's stale bread? You want that?" And he gave it. And Jesus does what Jesus does best. He blessed what the young boy brought. And in blessing it, he blessed others. And he multiplied this young boy's small gift, this young boy's simple lunch, this young boy's everyday run-of-the-mill. In our day, it might have been 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and a bag of Doritos. I don't know. He blessed that simple lunch and blessed thousands and thousands and thousands of people with it. When thinking about my mother's pear salad this morning, thinking about the disciples coming and saying, hey, Jesus needs that. I'd be like, wait, you want my pear salad? It's just a simple iceberg lettuce leaf, a canned pear, half of a canned pear, a dollop of Miracle Whip, and shredded Velveeta cheese. You want this? And Jesus, he did. He took what the young kid brought and he blessed thousands of people through it. Now, I want to talk to us today about what it is that we bring that Jesus wants to use to advance his kingdom. That what you and I have at our disposal, what we bring to the party that Jesus wants to use to advance his kingdom, to grow his church, and to bless thousands of people. Because so often we feel, wait, I'm not good enough for God to do anything through. I'm not skilled enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not wealthy enough. I speak Pittsburghese and that. I'm not all that. I don't have anything useful to give. And Jesus just invites us to show up with what we have, because he uses whatever means he sees fit to accomplish his purpose. So if you're here this morning and you're understanding our move in less than 2 months to our Lower Borough location, and you're hearing me say, hey, put your list together of 4 people that you're praying that God will use you in their lives to help draw them to Christ. And you're looking at the opportunity that we have to make an impact in our community, in the 15068 area and beyond. And you're feeling a little ill-prepared. You're feeling a little inadequate. I want to invite you to consider this young boy and what God chose to do with what he brought and what God chose to accomplish through him. It wasn't about the boy. It wasn't about the vastness of his lunch. It was about his willingness to bring it. Here it is, Lord. Do with it whatever you will. I want to invite you to pause with me now and engage with me in this video together.
Decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided no turning back, no turning back.
I hope you enjoyed that video and that it spoke to you and helped you. There's a passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 where Paul is writing, and he compares the church and the members of the church as individual parts of the body. And he talks about how even though we are different parts, we are all part of one body. And then he makes this statement in verse 18. But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wants them to be. And I know sometimes it's easy to look at somebody else that has a skill, ability, a talent, a spiritual gift that you don't have, and you say, well, I'm not as important as they are. I'll sit on the sideline. But Jesus wants each of us to find our part, to find our place, to find our area of serving and giving and blessing and helping that he has created us and placed us for. I don't think it's any coincidence that you are listening to this message or that you are part of the river, because I think the Lord wants you to find out exactly and experience exactly where he wants you to be. I love that verse, and I want to invite you to find your place. But because when we have that kind of envy, it's like, oh, I wish I was like them, or I wish I was this, or I wish I was that. You hear somebody lead worship, like, oh, I wish I could do that. Or you see somebody teach children, like, oh, I wish I could do that. Then it takes me back to my earliest memories of Sesame Street. I was just a little guy when Sesame Street came out. And one of the skits that they had that I remember most vividly was this little community had a fire, and the firemen saved the day. And then everybody in the community, all the Sesame Street puppets, wanted to become firemen. So they all became firemen. And then there was the need for a police officer, and there was no police officer. And then everybody decided they wanted to be a police officer, and they all became police officers. And then, there was a need for something else. There was a need for a baker, and there were no bakers in the town. And I love the way Sesame Street preached 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and didn't even know it, because each one of us is created unique, and you, as a follower of Christ, are a unique gift to the kingdom of God. And I want to invite you to lean into that, to find your place, your purpose, your calling in God's kingdom, to advance his kingdom, to help people find and follow Christ, to help them know him in a saving way as well. Now, a pastor once said to me, rather in quite an exasperated tone, I was sharing with him one of the events we did and how many people came out and volunteered, and he just threw up his arms and said, I can't get my people to do anything. And I just want to say at the river, I've never experienced that, because our people, they know there's a much bigger reason to do what they're being invited to do. Our people are discovering that they were made for this. I love the way Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10 describes this. The Apostle Paul is writing to the believers, and he says, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Paul is saying, we're made for this. We are made to serve and help and bless. And at the river, we love to create opportunities for people to come play in the playground. We love to invite people to experiment with new opportunities and new ways to serve and help and bless. And so I want to invite you to consider, as we move to 273 Chester Drive, how is it that you are going to help? How is it that you are going to bless? How is it that you are going to impact other people's lives? Now, we have a lot of opportunities for this, whether it's in children's ministry or nursery or hospitality or greeting and welcoming people, whether it's singing or playing instruments in the worship team, or whether it is helping in the technical area. If you have a good ear and are good with sound and are interested in helping in the tech booth, we would love to help have you come and check things out and see if that might be a fit. There are so many opportunities to help and bless and serve. And I just want to ask you, as we move to 273 Chester Drive, bring your pear salad. Even if you don't think that's a great cuisine, bring it, because it can bless and help others. I love the way that Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. Now, I want to talk about my technical friend that films every week with me and who edits our video every week, because without him, this would not happen, because I don't know how to do any of this. I have no interest in learning how to do any of the technical stuff. I don't know how to upload videos. I don't know how to edit videos. I don't know how to download things. I don't know how to put those little, like that bubble thing that comes up when I'm trying to think of something. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to insert that in. I don't know how to do the lower third. I don't know how to do any of it. And yet, my friend is a self-proclaimed nerd or geek, and he loves that kind of stuff. He loves the technology. And he can't believe that he gets to do something that he loves, that's helping others, that's helping advance the kingdom of God. Before the pandemic, I never thought of having him help with this. And then he's like, hey, I know how to do some of that. Would you like some help with it? Every week, faithfully, time and time and time again, hours joyfully given to serve and help and bless. And I'm so grateful for that, because he gets it. He's bringing his pear salad. It may not be impressive to others, his ability, as he looks like he's gagging at the idea of pear salad and Miracle Whip and shredded Velveeta cheese with a cherry on top. Yes. But he gets Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. And finally, I just want to invite us to keep serving, keep helping, keep blessing. Don't give up. 2 verses that I memorized 40 plus years ago that have just stayed with me. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Galatians chapter 6 verse 9 says, let us not become weary in doing good, For at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. In 2017, I went to visit my aunt and uncle down in Williamsburg, Virginia, and they took me to a restaurant just down the street from their house. The restaurant was called, if I can say it correctly, Old Chickahominy House. Old Chickahominy House. While we were there, I met the owner, and he heard I was from Pittsburgh and declared that his wife was from the Pittsburgh area. And then he said with a longing absence in his heart, like, oh, she would give anything for some Isley's chip chop ham. And I said to him, well, the next time I'm down, I'll bring some for you. And so I, the next year, was heading back down, and I stopped at Giant Eagle and bought 2 pounds of Isley's chipped of the chipped ham, and bought that bottle of the Isley's barbecue sauce that's used in chip chop ham. And I stopped in and gave it to him. He was thrilled to death. And I sat down to enjoy lunch. And on the menu, it had this little thing called fruit salad, and it was sounded good. So I wanted to try fruit salad, and he brought out this thing. It was a piece of lettuce and a half a pear, and it was covered in some kind of white sauce with some shredded orange cheese on top. And I'm like, that looks oddly familiar. I'm going back in my mind 40 years or so. I took a bite, and instantly I was back to being an 8-year-old kid in the mid-70s eating my mom's pear salad. It was a new version of an old classic, and it was fantastic. Well, I just want to encourage you. If you've tried serving before and it didn't fit you well, try again. If you've worn yourself out serving, maybe there's a way it can be done replenishing your soul instead of damaging your soul. Try it again. If you couldn't fit, perhaps, into the in crowd and get your foot in the door and find a place to serve because it was filled up, it seemed, and everybody was enjoying their area of service, and you couldn't find a place to fit in, I want to invite you, try again. If you think volunteering or helping is too much like working for free, I want to invite you to try again. Because you may just very well find why you were created. Too much is at stake to sit on the sidelines and let ministry be done by the experts and sit in the pew. I want to ask you, bring your pear salad. God bless you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. I can't wait to see how God is moving you to serve and bless and help. Come on out to the river and let's experience this together. God bless you, everybody. Have a great week. Thank you for joining in with us today.